Hello, everybody. And have you ever had someone in your life that you have known for nearly 30 years and then suddenly they appear back in your life? Well, that's what I have today. Welcome to the 155th episode of Stories of Service, Ordinary People Who Do Extraordinary Work. And I am the host of Stories of Service, Teresa Carpenter. And today we have a blast from the past. We have Jenni Harmon. Jenni, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Now that you're here,
yay! So Jenni was my second guest on the Stories of Service podcast. And as you guys might know who are following me on social media, I'm headed to the Military Influencer Conference, which just happens to be in Atlanta, Georgia. And guess where Atlanta, Georgia is?
Near close to me.
So we have a long history together. We actually went to boot camp together. Then after boot camp together, we went to the Navy's aircrew school together. So, and then we've kept in touch off and on throughout the years ever since. But this is our first time seeing each other in nearly 30 years.
Yeah, 96
or 97. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Jenni for those of you who may have missed the first podcast that we did together. And at that point, we're just going to launch into some questions. If you're joining me from YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're joining me from any of the other social media channels, please feel free to leave your comments in the chat window. We'll either get to them during the call or I'll go to them later and pass them on. But I'm going to read you guys a little bit about Jenni. As I said, we went through boot camp, aircrew school together and stayed in touch. And today, we're going to discuss a little bit more of where she's been since our last show together, where we discussed her taking up skateboarding and how her life unfolded after serving in the Navy as an avionics technician, an AT. I was an AE, aviation electrician's mate, and she was an AT. Today, we're also going to talk about where her life stands, why she quit drinking alcohol. As you guys who follow me know that I quit drinking alcohol as well, and encourages sobriety with her unapologetic AF, I won't say what that stands for, Instagram channel. Why she recently completed a social media detox. So funny, on social media, we're going to be talking about a social media detox. And lately, how activities such as yoga, meditation, painting, writing, and skateboarding keep her happy and healthy. Welcome again, Jenni.
Thank you. It's so exciting to just talk to you in person.
I know.
You know, it's bizarre, but it doesn't feel like all that time passed. I know. It's so bizarre how that works.
And that's why, really, guys, this is why I really want to keep doing these shows in person. You guys may have remembered the last show that I did with Zed Holmes, who is a dear friend of ours from England, was also in person. And it was just like this. And it reminds me that these shows, I think, are better in person than they ever can be over the interwebs. So, oh, hello, Joe Calendra. I probably pronounced it wrong. Hello. Air Force, Chaplain is amused. AF. Yes, AF. Yeah, no, not Air Force. But yeah. So first off, I really just want to ask you a little bit about what your time, if you could characterize your time serving in the Navy, what are some things that come to mind?
Amazing camaraderie and friendship. I really learned a lot of life skills. I think am I allowed to curse a little bit?
You can a little, yes.
Badass.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I really learned a lot of mental strength.
Mm-hmm.
I also learned how to drink, but we'll talk about that later on.
And there's definitely a drinking culture within the services.
I had such a great time. I really did. I saw the world. I had a blast. I really did. And it was just interesting. I got to travel. I had some really awesome experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I was an AT, but I knew I didn't want to be a technician when I just knew that wasn't I knew I had like
you knew you were
a
creative.
Dream that, I'm creative. I knew I had a dream that I had to pursue. And so that's why I separated, but I miss it. And it feels like yesterday, although it also feels like a century ago.
Right. And what was the platform? You worked on P3s, correct?
P3s, yeah. So I was an in-flight technician. So I did the ground maintenance, but I also flew with a crew also.
Yeah, you were an air crewman, so you flew with it on the aircraft as well as being an AT. And during your period, did you deploy as all?
I did. I took 3 deployments. So Japan, over in the Middle East. So Bahrain, went to Jordan and Singapore, went to Thailand, yeah, so a whole bunch of places. I didn't go to Europe though at all. So that's the one area that I didn't visit.
And I didn't do Europe at all my entire career. I was a West Coast sailor my whole career, even in Washington State. And then finally, at the tail end of my career, I go East Coast.
Washington State? Were you in?
I was out of
Bremerton?
Bremerton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was
went to
up
Bremerton.
north at NAS. Oak Harbor. Oh my gosh, I had to think
I know.
about
I
that.
had to and I had to think enlisted career. Did I do Washington State? No, it was officer career, and it was USS Nimitz. So one of these days, I'll probably get a lot older, guys, and I'll probably just sort of stumble around all the different tours and the places that I've been. But it's been wonderful to have had those different experiences. And today, what I really want to talk about with you, Jenni, is sort of how your life has unfolded since our last show, because I know on our last show you were talking about doing your book. You were talking about how you took up skateboarding. So tell us a little bit about some of those things that you were doing when we last caught up with you.
So I live by a different word every year. So come January 1st, I'm living by a different word, whether it's, life purpose. I think finances is one of the words one year, gratitude. And I was just at a point in my life where I wasn't happy and I felt like I wasn't fully living. So I decided to live by the word unapologetic. And so that started to unfold in 2020. And when we started talking, that was when I had done probably a year of unapologetic. So I learned how to skateboard. I actually did a 30-day sobriety challenge. I was just really getting into this unapologetic living. I think that's where I was. I think I started.
That was
painting.
Exactly where you were.
Yeah, I had started writing a book, or maybe I did the draft, the first draft on unapologetic, just everything that I looked at for in my life to kind of like, is this me? Yes or no. It was like my hand down on the table. Is this you, Jenni, or is this society talking? Is this your parents? Is this your kids? Like, who's making this decision? So that was what that book was about, which I have not done anything with since.
Well, I think that a lot of people can relate to this. And thank you, Jessica. I'm actually going to see Jessica Rudenberg at Military Influencer Conference. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you as well. And she said, yeah, just be yourself. She said hi to Joe as well. I'm sorry I'm not putting all these on the screen. I'm just kind of going through them as we're talking. But she says, yes, a high school education fixing what a college degree broke. Yes. Yes. I mean, it is one of those things where a lot of times we just never know where our lives are going to turn up. And I think that you came into my life, you came back into my life, and we did that show together right as I was starting the podcast. And I was really trying to build my own like unapologetic life and what it was I was going to do with myself and with my time. And 3 years later, I'm still going strong with what I built, and 55 episodes down the road that we're still doing this, and we're still having these conversations. But you were a part of that early journey of like, I'm going to start interviewing people who've either served in the military or who currently serve, and who are unapologetic and who live in their truth and who are authentically themselves, like you said, Jessica, cursing and all. I mean, that is who we are sometimes, and it's okay. So tell me a little bit about where things went after that, because I do remember that you got your website going for your painting, and you started actually selling pieces of your art.
Well, what happened first was actually that weekend that we spoke, I was up at a friend's house for her mom's funeral.
Yeah, because you did the podcast outside.
Yeah, we did it outside. It was last minute because we wasn't expecting to be up there. And the word unapologetic had me thinking about my relationship with alcohol. So as I was driving home from Connecticut back down to Georgia, I kind of made a pit stop into Surf City, New Jersey. I'm originally from New Jersey. And I grew up in Surf City, LBI in the summers. My great-grandmother had a house, and I just wanted to go visit the beach. So I drove up to the beach, and I was sitting on the beach. And it was at that moment that I decided I need to make a change with alcohol. That was the one thing that was that I was feeling I wasn't living true to myself.
What was it about alcohol that made you want to always go back to it?
I think it was just a lifestyle. I didn't even realize how much I drank, or not even how much I drank, but how I didn't like to drink. I didn't realize until much later on. I didn't realize that, not everybody needed to have a 1 or 2 drinks when they went out to eat. And I just wasn't happy. I was waking up thinking about it, and I didn't like the way I felt after having too much at, the post funeral.
Yeah, the hangover feeling of it.
And so I decided to test. I think what I really wanted was strength from others to kind of test them. Am I crazy that, like, does everybody have this feeling of they're drinking
just because they feel like they have to? They feel like they have to do it to be themselves or to have fun with other people.
Or is everyone unhappy because they're drinking too much? Am I drinking too much? I had all these questions. So I posted on social media and I said, I'm thinking of doing a sober summer.
That's what it was. Yep.
And I got exactly what I was looking for, because I said, hey, anybody want to do a sober summer with me? And the comments, I got 120 plus comments of how crazy I was. You're nuts. And like all the jokes that were coming through. And I thought,
no one took it seriously.
Yeah, no one took it seriously. And I went, that's a challenge. And I love challenges. And that's one of the things I learned in the Navy. I mean, all those challenges with aircrew school, with SEER school, and even boot camp, and just all the challenges that you learn. I was like, I'll take on that challenge. I'm going to prove to people and prove to myself that I can do this sober summer. So it was kind of a way for me to get support without really getting support. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like you're sort of saying you're going to do something online, and then you have to stick to what it is you said you're going to do. And it's an accountability tool.
And so I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, but that was when I started feeling the effects of not drinking, sleeping better, just having more energy, all of these things, my creativity. I had more time on my hands. I didn't realize how much time I spent sitting on my butt watching TV or just hanging out with friends, drinking, just having beers at barbecues, restaurants or a brewery. So I had all this time on my hands, and unapologetic. I had started painting a little bit. I had started wood carving more. And that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to dive into my art. I'm going to dive into this. And then I built my website. I started selling art. I started taking more art classes and business art classes, and just expanding in that way. So that became a big part of what I did when I wasn't drinking.
Right.
After my sober summer, I ended up doing about 6 months because I felt so good. And after that, slowly it started creeping back in. I think I celebrated my 10-year anniversary with my husband. We had a couple of, I had so little, and it affected me so much. Like not even like a half a beer, and I was like, woo. And just slowly it started to creep back in. The more I drank, the less I created art.
So there's definitely a correlation between how much you were drinking and then how much stuff you were actually getting done, or how much flow or process you were within the things that you enjoy doing. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. When I was drinking routinely, the last time I was drinking routinely, it was one of those things where mine was more stress driven. So it was, if I had a bad day at work, or if there was just too much going on, as long as I had that drink to like kind of just relax, then I would be okay. It was either in that situation, or it was when I was around people that I wasn't 100% comfortable with. I thought that if I drank, it would make me feel more comfortable with them. And then I could be more myself, because I always kind of felt that if I didn't trust someone, I couldn't be completely myself around them. And I had to learn that you just have a little bit more boundaries. You maybe be a little bit more withdrawn around the people that you might not want to share everything with. But alcohol has nothing to do with it. And really, you're actually quite not the best version of yourself when you're buzzed, even, because you're a pretty, at least I find, I'm not exactly the most pleasant person on a buzz. And I don't know if my friends want to hang out with me buzzed.
Sometimes,
right? Because it's like the exaggeration of your personality. Like if you've got certain things, it just exaggerates it.
I had my own name for those times that I wasn't very nice, and my name then was called Furion. So my husband's brother gave me that name, but like,
why would you just get furious, or
I would just get mad. And I don't know
Uh-huh.
where it came from. And it wasn't all the time,
Yeah.
but you know, my drinking like you, I wanted to fit in sometimes and just feel more comfortable around people.
Right.
But I also, and this is where it comes from the Navy, and I think where it had a big part of it, I learned how to cope with stress.
Right.
My two boys, I mean, they are a bundle of energy, and
Yeah, that's
and
stressful.
I am not one to sit home. Like when they were younger, I wasn't one to sit home and in like, you know, 15 minutes of an activity, and then what do you do after that?
Right.
I don't know what to do. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I like using my, you know, my mind, and I was kind of going crazy. I mean, I love my kids.
But you just need that balance of other things that would
Also, I mean, I
stimulate
learned
you.
how to celebrate,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or it's a barbecue, or you're going out to
Right.
eat,
Well, that's the
or
cultural part of
yeah, I mean,
alcohol.
it was everything, you know, it was
Mm-hmm.
everything was why I would have a drink,
Yeah.
you know, and I just wasn't happy with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
let that creep back in, and
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that it's something that needs to be discussed more. And I think it's something that needs to stop being like normalized, because I don't have a problem with people who drink. I don't mind being around people who are drinking. It doesn't matter to me, but I don't see it as this way of bringing people together anymore.
Now that I don't drink, and this is no judgment
Mhm.
on anybody if you're drinking, but I do see the disconnect. When they start drinking, I see that people aren't as present.
No.
They're not as present with me, and I see it with them amongst each other, and it's totally okay. I mean, to each their own.
And you
It
can't, I
just
can't,
helps me.
right.
Yeah,
And
it
I
helps
can't
me
judge
for me.
what was such an integral part of my socialization for so many years. It would be
Yeah.
wrong for me to sit there and cast judgment or say it's
Yeah.
bad for other people, because also I do know that there are those people too that don't turn it into a crutch.
Yeah,
They don't turn
yeah.
it into a
They
habit.
can go and have the
They can go and have the
one,
one
or
drink and then
two.
they walk away and everything is
Yep.
fine.
That's not me.
That's
So-
not me either. So it's like when you know that about yourself, you just say, okay, this is something that we can't do routinely.
Yeah.
And so what happened then to make you say, okay, I'm now going to stop this again? And how recently was that?
I was, let's see, what year are we in? 2024,
2024.
right? It's like a blur. I want to say 2022. I was sitting on my couch enjoying a beer, and again, I hadn't gone back to the way I drank, but it
Mhm.
was still, I had this battle in my mind.
Yeah.
I had learned a little bit more about alcohol during that the 3 or 6 months of sober summer. So it's one of those things, once you learn about something, you can't
unlearn it.
can't
Well, your
unlearn it.
attitude about it
Yeah,
changes.
my whole perspective
Yeah.
on it. So
Your mindset is different.
I was having this this battle in my mind, knowing that it wasn't healthy for me. I was afraid that well, my husband's mom had moved down here, my mother-in-law, and after COVID, her health had declined pretty big. And I just remember thinking, gosh, I want to be the 80-year-old that is like active, that is
Right.
on a skateboard.
Mhm.
Maybe with the walker on the skateboard, but like I don't want to sit around. And I remember being guilty, thinking I haven't painted, I haven't been up to the skate park as much. And so it was just lingering, this feeling. And I think I was at a party, and I was kind of sitting with somebody, and I said, oh, I think I might do a sober year. And she was like, oh, you should. Why not? Again, I think I was looking for support.
Sure,
you know, I'm looking
sure.
for like somebody to support me. And so I decided to do a sober year. And that's when the work really began, because I really decided I'm really going to dig in. I'm going to understand all the reasons why I drink. I want to understand why I don't want to drink. And it really became more of a blank canvas for my life, though. It was kind of like, here's an opportunity for me to look at life, and I get to decide what I do with it. And that's where the skateboarding taught me, and my boys had taught me, that youth is a mindset. So I really wanted to use that time to do all the different things. So Halloween 2022 was my day, and I decided I was going to do a year. And I think I wrote a list of all the things I want to try. And, you know, we got scuba certified. We just learned a whole bunch. We just learned all these little things, visiting places. I wish I brought that list, because I have it somewhere. And I made it. I say we, because my my husband tends to not drink when I'm not drinking, and
Mhm.
and you know, he can have his beer or whatever. It
Is he a
doesn't.
take it or leave it kind of guy when it
Yeah,
comes to
it
alcohol?
doesn't. You know,
Not even. No, there's
he's
no relationship one way or the other.
he
That's how
yeah
my husband is
yeah,
too.
and it you know, he likes to have his glass at
Right,
night,
sure.
and it's
But
you
it's never
know,
becomes an issue.
yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
he works in a position where he talks to a lot of people, and he doesn't need to have a drink to even talk to them. So, but I made about 6 or 7 months, and I decided, you know what? We were in Bonaire at the time, scuba diving, and I was like, I have a very healthy relationship. My family that I was visiting, they had really good bottles of wine that were like very expensive that I would never buy for myself. And I thought I'm going to have one. You know, I'm here in Bonaire, and that's great. And I was fine. I think I drank a total of 12 times in that year, and not once did I get drunk.
Mhm.
So it was very good. And at that point,
Yeah, you think it's fine.
yeah. And
you're like, oh, okay, I'm fine. Yeah, that's the insidious
Yeah.
nature of somebody who has a compulsion, though, is the
Yeah,
fact that
and
there can be
there were days
so
so,
many
like, when I
times
think
that
about
it's
it,
not an
but
issue.
yeah, there was always kind of like, but when I'm older, maybe when I'm
Yeah.
retired, maybe. And I extended the moderation, and I say extended because there came a point where I realized moderation is not worth it. So that full year and a half, it was from like October, from Halloween to June, the end of June. So just this past June is when I did moderation.
Mhm.
Decided I'd go to Napa in June. I'm in my best, place with, moderation. It was fine. And I had a great time, but I was sitting there in beautiful Napa and thinking, why do I need to have a glass of wine? Like, I don't need it. And still that little voice of knowing all the things about alcohol in general and where I used to be with it. I didn't want to go back. So got back from Napa, and I decided, you know what? I'm done. I'm
Mhm.
done. I'd
Yeah.
much rather spend my time feeling good. I love doing all the things with my kids. You know, we skate together, we wakeboard together. I am writing a book now. I've written 3 other books since then. So I have Unapologetic,
Mhm.
Unapologetic AF, the life lessons I've learned at the skate park,
Mhm.
the 10 ways that you can cut back
That's awesome.
drinking.
Mhm.
But I finally decided to work with a coach, and we're working on it. And I've got it. It's kind of a whole. All of those books are a piece of this book.
Wow,
So
that's
I'm
awesome.
excited, and I feel this is the one. I am ready, and I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally relate to your story. And I'm sure some of you who are watching relate to this too, because I think that if it's not alcohol, there's still some sort of vice
there's
in people's
something.
lives. For me, it was climbing the corporate ladder or chasing promotions. I've had that as a compulsion. I've even had exercising at one point as a compulsion, where it was like, if I didn't exercise for that day, it was like, oh no. I remember I went on a drive with my uncle, I'll never forget it. And he was just so fed up with me because I had to find a gym every single place we stopped, because it had gotten into that kind of a compulsion with me. And I think that a lot of these compulsions, they're there because there's a lack, or there's a hole in our hearts, or there's something there that we're trying to fill, and we're trying to fill it with the stuff instead of relationships, instead of activities and things we can feel proud of, and work. I mean, because writing a book is work, painting and sticking with that painting and trying to sell that painting. That is, or just
I think a lot of people think you're down in the studio and you're just
having
painting this
fun
lovely
and doing
thing.
this great.
And
No, it's work.
no, there is stages, and there's working through it, and there's a stage where you hate it and you're like, I'm done with this, and then you got to go back to it, and letting go. I mean, it's
and not making perfect get in the way of good enough, and it's never good enough. I can tell you guys, as a podcaster, like, even as we're doing this show, I'm watching the screen like blink, and I'm like, oh gosh, I wonder if when I watch the replay, am I going to see the blink of the screen, and is that going to somehow make it so that it's not as perfect show as it could have been? And that's what we do to ourselves. We are so hard on each other.
That's why unapologetic. It's like, I think it just, that word, and it somebody else could have a different word, right? Maybe not unapologetic. Sometimes people, gosh, what are some other words? Because I'm going blank here. Please help me.
When you're like, you're just you're authentically yourself.
Authentic,
Authentic.
or
You're being yourself. Even I think
know,
Jessica
whatever.
said it in the comments. Being intentional.
Yeah,
being
whatever that word is that's gonna let you remind yourself.
yes.
Just be yourself. Like imperfectly perfect. My mom and I make quilts, and that's another thing. I mean, we just dive into all the creativity, and we call ourselves the off-kilter quilters because we want to be imperfectly perfect or perfectly imperfect, however you want to look at it, because I don't want it to be a perfect quilt. I don't want my life to look perfect. And I think that's what allowed me to own wanting to not drink, because like you said, there's other vices, right? It's not just alcohol.
No.
Alcohol,
It's one of many.
as soon as you're not drinking, everybody's like, oh, oh my God, what happened? And it's like, but oh, did you see that? Sorry, there's some hummingbirds flying through here. Maybe they liked what I had to say there. I don't know. Is that a sign? But I think we all have something that is blocking us, whether it's alcohol, whether it's the exercise, whether it's just being afraid.
Perfect.
Yeah, being perfect. Yeah, perfection. I mean, is a huge thing.
Right. That's a compulsion. People who have to be perfect. And I will tell you, like, some of the things about the military, I love serving, but some of the places that I've been in, the offices that I've served at, they really do push that veneer of perfection. And then you get down on yourself because you think, oh gosh, I can never measure up to what they think. And so I think that's been one of the wonderful things for me personally about sort of taking that right turn off the climb, or as you want to say, is the fact that I'm very content with building things for the sake of building them now, and not, oh gosh, am I going to put on the next rank? It's not about that. It's about, well, what impact can I make to the present command that I'm serving at? What impact can I make in my personal life? What impact can I make in my relationships? And I don't think I had that mentality before. It was just like, well, what does this one boss think of me? And what are they going to put on that piece of paper?
And what do I need to do to
And those things are, you realize as you get older that those things just don't, in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter.
Content, like that. I think that's what really is what we want. We just want to be content, and if I just want to feel inner peace. And anything that leads me in that direction, it's kind of like my guide, and just asking ourselves why, like, why am I doing this?
Right. Is this really giving me peace? Is this giving me joy? If it's not, then what is my strategy to get to
get there?
Because we all know, not all of us obviously can quit our jobs or can just stop everything. But what can we do to put ourselves on the path where we're living the most intentional way, and we're living in what it is we want to do? So take me back then to this early summer where you said, okay, moderation isn't working in June. I'm going to start this new journey and this new path, because you didn't just stop drinking. You stopped something else, and you took a break from something. And tell me a little bit about what that was like for you. Was it the first time you ever did it?
Are you talking about, what are you talking about?
The social media detox.
That was amazing. I love social media. I absolutely love it. I think it's a creative outlet for me.
It is for me as well.
I love just putting stuff out there, and it really, like, I look back at my own stuff.
So do I. I do too. As a fellow creative, this is what you do. You go back and you look at your work, and you're like, oh, I was there at one point in my life. And I mean, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. Somebody, and I, especially in the military, as a public affairs officer, I will say that you have to own your story, and it is a creative outlet. It's a place to put things out there and to look back on and to reflect. And so you were like,
so I decided instead of a sober summer, I did a social media. What did I call it? Oh my gosh, a sober social media, or sober free social. Wait, is that right?
Summer free. Branded it as
Summer free social. Yeah. And I just decided I wasn't going to go onto Instagram. I wasn't going to go on Facebook. Originally I was going to just take Polaroid photos. That's really hard.
Did you have a Polaroid camera?
I do. I have a Polaroid camera. I have a stack of Polaroid photos.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted it to be like artsy. Like, what does it look like? Like back in the day, I was feeling nostalgic and all.
That's so cool.
and just, there was a lot of little revelations, looking back. I definitely spend a lot more time than what I thought I did.
Did you not know what to do with yourself the first few days that you weren't on there?
No, that's the thing. I thought I was going to be like, what do I do? There's, I thought,
I'm not going to sit around my phone
I thought I
and
was going to
scroll.
miss it. And what I found was I was cleaning my house more instead of avoiding it. I was spending more time with my kids. My husband and I, we have a lot of fun. We send videos back and forth. I don't know if you guys do that.
Oh,
the
especially
memes and
Harry
everything.
sends me videos.
Oh my gosh, and I love it, and we laugh so much. But we actually just started talking a little bit more, and he wouldn't be on his phone as much, and I, because I wasn't on my phone, and we were watching shows together, and I feel like I did have a little more time with my kids. I felt like I was like, well, I can't sit here and just sit on social media. Let's go to the pool, or let's go to the skate park, or let's go to the wake park. Actually, were we at the wake park? We weren't at the wake park at that point. But I was like, let's get out more. And so I did find that I did more. I did miss being creative. I think it helped
me having that outlet, to share the things that you were creating. Yeah.
And I really do feel like it has been a little bit more. I feel like my social media is a little bit more of my journaling. It's a little bit more of my, looking back in my daily little journal, and so I miss that part of it. But yeah, it almost felt awkward coming back.
How long did you stay off of it?
2 months. So a summer break.
So you did 8
summer
weeks.
break. Yeah, summer free summer break, or a social free summer break. And I also did find that I felt a little lonely.
I bet.
So I didn't realize how much I felt like I was connecting with people, but it got me to think about this. Like, am I really connecting with people, or do I have like this like, And I found that I was calling people more. I think we had a conversation. I talked to a really good friend of mine for an hour and a half that we'll talk, but it's not an hour and a half. And I found,
how were people reaching out to you? Were you able to just go on Messenger and still
someone
get your
would
messages?
text. They'll text me, and I wouldn't go on Messenger.
Okay.
I might have gotten a text like, hey, I sent you a message on
Messenger. Where are you?
Towards the end of the summer break, I did have to go on social media, because it's amazing how many businesses and the schools communicate
I've heard about that from people
the things that are going on. And that was kind of a little bit of a shocker, but it was fine. I wasn't on there scrolling. I also found that I think I was a little bit happier. I didn't realize if I would see somebody else doing something that I would think, oh, I wish I would have done that.
There is what we call like the FOMO, or you see someone, I know this, I do this in the podcast world. I'll see somebody getting like a major guest, or I'll see that they've got this awesome opportunity, and I'll be like, man, I should have hustled to try to do something like that. And really, like, I wouldn't have ever thought that I needed something like that, or I don't need, but it's this idea that you kind of, it's this whole keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. And we do that to ourselves. And it's unnecessary. And mentally we know, like in our brains, we know, but there's that emotional side, or, like the lizard brain that tells you like, oh, I'm not enough.
I'm not enough, or
I'm not worthy of what this person got. And it's a double-edged sword. I often feel that social media is, because it's one of those things where it's such an amazing tool, like you said, to spread creativity, to put out information, to make friends. I mean, my gosh, most of my guests come from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's my biggest social media following. I would not have been able to do this podcast without the people that I've met through LinkedIn, and the ability that LinkedIn has given me to have a platform. But at the same time, I will say that it does become like a compulsion. It does become something that you do instead of doing other things.
And I am sucked into that already, coming back in. But I'm a little bit more mindful of my time. I have a timer on there now.
Nice.
A lot of times I'm like, ignore. Or I find that like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say. Let me keep posting.
Yes.
But another thing that I noticed is that, especially with writing, if I get too many ideas and too much creativity coming at me, then it kind of, it gets in the way of my own creativity and my own ideas. So when it comes to the writing, when it comes to the painting, I've really been trying to avoid getting any kind of ideas. I really want everything to come from inside of me, my voice, deep within me when I'm painting. I don't want to look at social media before I do those things. So I make sure that like my morning routine, I'm writing, I'm painting, or I don't look at social media for the first hour.
That's really smart, because a lot of times I will start my day with like a post, or I'll start my day with like looking through.
But I don't know if that's see, I might post something, but I'll go on and post because it's coming from me,
you.
and I'll post it, and that's sometimes where my mind is fresh in the morning. But I won't scroll. I won't look.
Yeah, because I find sometimes when I put a post out, and I don't know if you guys are like this in the audience, but when I put out like a post about something that's been on my mind or on my heart, it's sort of something that sticks with me throughout the day. And then I become sort of intentional about it. Now, if it's a controversial issue, I'll have to like go back and forth with the comments and be really mindful of what is being said on it and other things. And maybe once I'm retired, I won't have to do that as much. But it's good
practice though for you, to be very mindful of like what you can say, what you can't say. Because
people can take what I say and they'll take it out of context,
and it sounds like something
completely different than what I was trying to get across. So I have to be very mindful of that. But I also feel that it's so important to have these thought-provoking conversations, because I think that sometimes people just don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. They don't feel that what they've gone through is valid. And if they can hear that other people have gone through something similar, there's some healing and some space there to feel better and to process what those experiences were. So when I'm feeling reflective on some of those experiences, I definitely want to share them, because I know there's other people out there that can benefit from hearing about those things. And so as you started to get back onto social media, and now you had these things in place like the timer and all these other things, did you find yourself though getting sucked down rabbit holes like on YouTube or any of those other places? Or how did you keep yourself from doing that?
I do. I catch myself. I think I needed that break to be able to see them though. Whereas before maybe I would get sucked in and I didn't see it. But since I was off for a period of time and then I came back, it was much more obvious. So I catch myself very quickly. And I really, I just try to be mindful of that. I really want to stay unapologetically me, and I don't want to be influenced. I find those posts that might make me feel like, oh, I'm missing out. Now I just
have the discipline to just not even look at it or take it in, because it's not going to be. Well, and one of the other things that I started to do on social media is that the people in my life that may not be 100% healthy for me, and I may have followed them at one time, but now that something may have happened, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I have found myself unfollowing them, or if they put something in there that's a little bit triggering or a little bit mean, or I just don't think it's good for me and my mental health, I'll just unfollow it, and I won't see the post anymore. I could probably do
that a little bit more.
It really, really helps. And I mean, I didn't go through a full detox like you did, but I went, God, it's only like 4 or 5 days maybe, but it seemed like a lot because I wasn't on at all.
Well, when you're doing your career too, I mean,
a little bit,
it's tough.
It is tough because
podcast and
number one, there's the podcast, but then number two, every command I've ever been with, I has social media channels. So I'm always in a place where typically there's routine postings.
So how do you keep that separate? When that's like your work, and it's
because the stuff that I have to say about work is so benign, and it's so much more just, these are the great things that our sailors are doing. And it's more just factual. And then the stuff that I do for my creative side is more like the stuff that you like. It's the storytelling and it's the passion. But that's also where I knew like this off ramp was needed, because I know that like, as much as I love the Navy, they're not ready for a lot of the kind of creativity and the passion that I think creators bring to the table. They're still much more of a traditional mindset with the whole like New York Times and getting on the broadcast news, which we still need those. Obviously, we still need those huge channels and those huge reach. But as far as like the creator economy, which I hope with the military influencer conference coming up starting tomorrow, I do hope that they'll be more receptive in the future to really engaging with creators, because I think that they're missing out on an opportunity
to
I mean, really
thinking about the future of the military and the future people that might be in the military. I mean, to reach out and to be able to
work with creators. And they have on some small levels, like we've had influencers go out on embarks, and we've had some influencers do certain projects with the military. But there's influencers in the vet community, for an example, that I really don't feel the military is doing a lot to work with. And I think a lot of that is because they're controversial, or they'll ask hard questions, that reporters won't, because reporters tend to be a little bit more, you know, on the traditional line, and they're politically correct, and they don't want to like lose their access. So they don't ask tough questions, whereas podcasters will. And so I think that, you know, as we go forward and share on social media and be a part of this creator economy, we're sort of, you and I are the same age, and we're on these tools and we're using them routinely. But I will say the people our age and in our demographic, a lot of them aren't as engaged on them as you and I are. So I think there's just a mindset that hasn't caught up yet. And so as these people come younger, this is where they
where they are.
And this is where they're getting their information. And I think it's going to be one of those things where they're going to have to keep up. So what is next for you as we chart down your path and I catch up with you in 2 or 3 years? Where do you see yourself?
I still see myself trying all the different things, wakeboarding. We just got into that, you know, skateboarding, all the fun things, anything that my kids want to do. I see myself finishing this book by the end of the year, and I'm putting it out there. Like, I don't know if it's going to be published or self-published by then, but this is my biggest goal, is to do this, because I've been talking about it since I was 19 in my journals. I've written in a journal since I was 8. I'm 47. What's the math on that? 41 years. And I don't know how many times I've written book. Like, it's got to be in my book.
Right.
You were 19. What did you know? I've been doing a lot more painting for me and telling a story through my painting. So my website is down right now. I'm not sure if I'm even going to sell any of my paintings. I really just want to paint and share the stories that come to mind when I'm painting. So you'll see more artwork, but I don't know what that's going to look like. I also recently got certified for sober coach and transformational coach. So I really want to help. Like, I want to do sober curious coaching. So it's not about quitting, you know, altogether. I just want people to start looking at, or I don't want people to start looking at those that are looking at their lives and saying, I need to make a change. If alcohol is that block, I want to help get them on that path and to understand what are those things that you've always wanted to do. So like midlife coaching and sober curious coaching combined. I feel like there's a lot of people in their 40s and 50s that feel like life is over and you can't go skateboarding. You can go skateboarding. Doesn't matter how old you are, you can. And I just, it's like, let's become ourselves. And that's where the joy is. That's where we get that inner peace. So working towards that and just trying to be the best mom, really. You know,
I love it.
Really, that's it. And celebrating every day with them. We have a business idea as a family, and I can't say much now, but you might see more coming out on that. Yeah, just family fun stuff. So
I love it, Jenni. You bring your whole self, and you bring all the things that you do to the table with everything you do. We haven't even talked about the fact that you're also a yoga teacher. And that's a big part. And that's a big part of your life as well.
It is. And it doesn't have to be yoga, the physical practice. I think if you have some sort of, I mean, I really believe in yoga and the physical and all the other things. And yoga is not just a physical practice. There's a lot more to that, but having something that is mindful where you can tune in to yourself, and yoga is a very good way to get there where you're hearing your thoughts. So meditation, whatever it might be.
All right. Well, for those who don't know who you are and have just been introduced to you through me, which, by the way, is one of my favorite things to do, you guys, is to bring people that I know to other people that I know online. And it's so interesting because then I'll find they're connecting and these like connections of people that I just know from different places. So for people that don't know you, that know you now and want to follow you and learn more, where can they find you?
Well, my everyday kind of kids, family, skateboarding, all that is Jenni Harmon _ So at Jenni Harmon _
and I have it linked
Jenni
in the show
with an
notes as
I.
well.
And then if you're interested in more of my sobriety journey, which I'm so proud of myself that I can even say sobriety. I hated words like sober and, and any of the words, any of it.
I hated all that
all
too.
of those. And you can follow me at unapologetic _AF _living. So unapologetic AF, alcohol free, or
oh, I didn't
alcohol,
even understand that was alcohol free. I just thought it was the other one.
Well, that too, however you want to look at it.
Yeah,
you can be unapologetic or unapologetically alcohol free.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Jenni, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Oh my gosh. So now we're going to get off the show and just, oh yeah, go ahead.
Look at what
See
I
if you can
found
get
today. There we are. Oh,
try to get it back.
Oh, look at that. There we are.
That's actually me. I don't know if I can get the finger right. There we go. That is me.
And that's me.
So this was in aircrew school when we were just a couple crazy kids being silly and just being ourselves. And yes, it was so good. Oh, Joe says, I'm proud of you, Jenni.
Oh, thank you.
Joe is amazing. He's actually a chaplain with the Veterans Affairs, and him and I are just friends on social media, but one day we will be friends in real life. And
I believe that.
And we will meet up, and it's just so cool how these connections happen. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We're going to get off this podcast here and actually really catch up and visit. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I will be coming back to you live for 2 more podcasts, actually 3 total, one with Prey Deck, but 2 more on Wednesday. I'm actually going to be interviewing Chris McGee. He is 20 years done podcast, but more than that, he's been advocating for DOD to properly do a study that links suicide deaths by job code. And he's been working on this for a while. And what it will do, if it's done properly, is show that the most stressful, undermanned, and under-resourced jobs often have the biggest mental health problems, which is what I believe. But we need those definitive proof to show that, and then to hopefully one day better resource and better supply those jobs and make life a little bit better for our sailors. And maintainer ratings are one of the biggest ones, by the way, too.
Really?
Yeah, he's actually an Air Force veteran, and that's why he's so passionate about this. He was an Air Force maintainer, and he saw so many of his colleagues sadly pass away due to suicide. And he went and he became a lawyer post-military, and now is on this amazing crusade. And then I'm also going to be interviewing Melissa Washington, and she is a woman veteran advocate, and she has her own business and does so much in the women's veteran space. And I can't wait to have her on the show. And she's just kicks butt.
I love what you're doing for the military and veterans. It's amazing.
Well, I'm really passionate about it. I'm grateful to the United States Navy to allow me to continue to do this on active duty, even when sometimes I do speak truth to power, and I do speak up and speak out because I'm very passionate about it. And I do think that it makes a difference and makes an impact. So thank you so much, Jenni. Thank you all for you guys for joining us today. We're going to sign off here if I can figure out how my mouse actually moves and get it to go working again. But we'll see you guys later.
Perfect or perfectly imperfect.
Yes. Oh, hey, I got the little toggle here to work. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday and talk to y'all later. Bye now.